I have a script. Hello and welcome everyone to the Edinburgh launch of Fierce Salvage, a queer words anthology. I'm Ryan Vance, one of the editors, and my co-editor Michael Lee Richardson is here at the front. Say hello, Michael.
Hello.
A little bit about Fierce Salvage. It's the second anthology to come out of Queer Words Project Scotland, a mentoring programme that pairs emerging Scottish queer writers with established professionals on the scene. Alongside our mentors and mentees, the book publishes new fiction, memoir, non-fiction, and poetry from the most exciting queer voices writing in Scotland today. Our first anthology, We Were Always Here, was published in 2019 by 404 Inc., and those featured became some of the most dynamic and interesting rising stars of Scottish publishing. We have no doubt the same is true of Fierce Salvage, and cannot wait to see where our newest gang of queers goes from here. Tonight, we're going to have readings from the anthology by three of the Queer Words mentees, Lakshmi AJ, Colin Maguire, and Suki Hollywood, conveniently and not even intentionally lined up in that order. We'll follow those readings with a short Q&A and some celebratory drinks afterwards, which everyone is welcome. So an introduction for our readers. Colin Maguire is a Glaswegian living in Edinburgh. In 2018, he published a pamphlet, Enhanced Full Disclosure, with Speculative Books. He won the Outspoken Prize for Best Poem and Film in 2018 for his poem The Glasgow Boys. In 2020, he received the Ignite Fellowship from the Scottish Book Trust to work on a new collection of poetry. Lakshmi AJ is a visual artist, writer, and social worker in mental health and addictions. She has performed at the Feminist Cabaret at the Edinburgh Radical Book Fair and is currently a writer in residence at Echo, the editorial platform of Take One Action Film Festival. Her work is inspired by her experiences of migration, finding pockets of community along the way, and dreaming of abolitionist futures. Suki Hollywood's work has been featured in Gutter, Deluzine, Spam, Water Wings, and more. She has self-published a queer thriller called Jesus Freaks and two poetry pamphlets, Heart Eyes and This Suit. In 2023, Suki provided the words for Yes, I Can See the Stars, a billboard campaign for a beloved queer venue, Bonjour, R.I.P. Thank you also to Lighthouse Books for hosting us this evening, and to our BSL interpreter, Lou Hansen. And of course, thank you so much to yourselves for coming out tonight. It means so much to give Fierce Salvage such a warm, queer welcome. And with no more ado, I'm going to hand over to our first reader of the evening, Colin.
Thank you. I'm going to read with a mic, which, I'll try my best. So a bit of context. I guess this is... No, I'll just read it, but I feel I should say that I'm a young boy in this, and maybe I still am. Fruit potential. Queen. There is rapidly deepening public alarm over the deadly disease. The announcement catches me off guard as I walk by the living room. The door is open, the TV on. I peer in to make sure the room is empty before walking in and sitting on the arm of the couch, eyes fixed on the screen. It's a report about something awful, a sickness killing men, something that means they are bad in some way. They show footage of Freddie Mercury. Freddie has the disease too. Freddie Mercury scares me. His sickness scares me. The way Freddie looks as he sings is like the sickness itself is singing. He looks like how I imagine a witch might. Thin, bony fingers, long, black hair, a pale complexion, and a gaunt face. But this witch has bright buck teeth and is in an ice-white jumpsuit, pining for his mum in Bohemian Rhapsody. The song scares me too. Its high-pitched emotion unsettles me. I want to change the channel, turn it off, and part of me wants to keep watching. Don't tell anyone anything. After the news, an advert comes on. It shows a volcano erupting, rock collapsing, volcanic flames and lava bubbling and pouring. A man with a large pneumatic drill drills into the rock as a disembodied hand chips at it with a hammer and chisel. Over ominous synth, a stern voice warns, There is a danger that has become a threat to us all. It is a deadly disease, and there is no known cure. A huge black tombstone is lowered from a black sky with the words AIDS in bold white carved into it. It lies flat on the ground while unseen mourners throw white flowers on it. Don't die of ignorance, the voice intones. My body tenses and strains, palms itch, mind races. I know this is Freddie's disease. This is the disease that he is. This is the disease we share in common. This is who I am and what I will die from. No more nakedness with the boy next door. No more bodies pressed together. There is a sickness taking over the world, a real life horror film, and I'm not even old enough to watch horror films yet. The advert and Freddie make my horror. I have to get out of here, away from the TV, away from the boy next door, away from my own nakedness and disease potential. I will have to ask Mum if I have it. I don't know exactly what AIDS is, but I know it's a bug in the blood that makes the blood bad. Freddie Mercury is AIDS and I am Freddie Mercury's double. I am sickly and skeletal. I get naked with the boy in the cellar. We press our bodies together. Cellar door. We sit in the cool, dimly lit cellar to escape from the sun, drinking from plastic cups of water, having checked that the door is shut. Out of boredom or restlessness, we begin to nudge elbows into ribs, flick hair and splash water in each other's faces. My shirt gets wet, so I take it off and throw it in his face, flexing my arms and chest like a wrestler. He looks at me, scrunching his eyes slightly. He takes off his shirt too. I pick up a thin white sheet splattered with paint stains, wrap it around my bare shoulders, wafting it and gusting it like a cape. He drapes himself in a sheet too. We snake around the cellar, spin in and out of rooms, our feet bare and dirty from the dust and grit on the ground. We climb on top of boxes, catching and escaping each other's grasp, our skins brushing as we pass, on the boundary of something we can't quite name. The tails of the sheets caress our chests as they sweep through the air. We undress to underwear only, pressing chests together as we pass, feeling the warmth through the thinness of the sheet. I open my sheet wide like a bird, displaying my smooth, bare body. He presses against me as I wrap the sheet around us, pressing close through our underwear, feeling the surprise of another boy's skin against mine. And there are footsteps outside. The cellar door opens, light streaming in and straining our eyes. "What are you lads up to?" his dad asks, surprised. As his eyes adjust to the darkness, he sees us in our pants, draped in white. "Get your clothes on, won't you?" he says. "It's cold down here. Get out into the sun." We laugh, shy, our clothes thrown in a heap on the old couch. We decide to go outside, naked. We run unafraid, draped in sheets, our cherubic buttocks flashing in the garden. "Is this okay?" I ask his mum about our nakedness. She's pegging the last of the washing, barely taking note. "Yes, it's fine," she says brightly. His dad comes out of the cellar with the hose and makes his way up the drive to wash the car. We swirl and bump together, flitting in and out of a green plastic He-Man and the Masters of the Universe tent pitched in the grass, and dart in and out of the cellar too. I pick up a policeman's hat from the dress-up box and put it on. I stand proudly, one leg on the edge of the couch and my arm in the air. "You're under arrest for having no clothes on," I say, pointing at him. "Catch me first and dress me yourself," he says, turning and ducking behind the dress-up box. He finds another police hat and puts it on. Let's arrest everyone for having clothes on, he laughs. It's illegal to get dressed. We charge out into the sun, yelling. Thank you so much for listening.
And next is Lakshmi. I'm only just realizing now that we should have done the intros before each individual speaker rather than all at once. But here I am, up introducing Lakshmi. Here you go.
I'll first read a piece from the piece that I wrote in the book, and then I'll read a couple more poems. The piece that's in the book is a conversation that I had, well, in my mind, but a conversation that I had with the sea when I went back home to an island in India. Reclaim, retreat, rescue. I used to think that my queerness was what chased me away from my homeland, searching for safety, a place to breathe as me. New Year's Day, 2024. The first time I arrived at Munro's Island, Munro Thurtha as the locals call it, I was a tourist in my own land, the sea. Our waves sway back and forth, feeling the mud beneath us slip away, and only to return to our fold. We remember a time when this land was hidden deep in our bosom, untouched by man. My family had chosen one of the newest additions to the hotels on the island to stay in. Gleaming white concrete towering amongst the small coloured brick houses that flecked the rest of the island. I had tea in the morning, served by a young girl from her shack attached to a bright blue house. The sea. That girl dives into our salty embrace every morning. The shame of that concrete whiteness descended upon me as I stomped around the island, each footfall pushing the sinking island further into the surrounding water. The sea. Year after year, the mold we spawned plagues her breath and threads its way through her clothes. Her neighbours flee when they tire of waking up, knee deep in us on their porches. She knows her blue house is next. She loves the fireworks on the pier at the turn of the year. We've loved watching those sparks reflected in her eyes over the years as we creep forward across the low-lying pier. The heavy grief of displacement, of leaving, of returning, of never belonging, all rippled through me as I wept into my lover's arms by the shores of the salty lake. I wept through my desperate bids for connection to my blood and land. The sea. A stranger to this land sits weeping by the shore. We greet your tears gently, your salt the same as ours, the same as hers. Each tear carried the sorrows of those who chose to stay and those who had to flee the island, and of all those who had felt the force of colonizers and capitalists ravaging their land. The sea. The grief of your loss is nothing compared to the devastation of ours. The lives within us have been fenced off by their nets, their factories, their canoes full of gawkers and mounds of waste from their resorts. The fireworks this year are ours. We will push them back into our debts. But now, as I straddle the two islands that made me, I wonder how my queerness has helped me transform as I move through these spaces. That's the ending of the first part. you can find the rest of it in the book. I have a couple more pieces if I've got time. I think maybe for one. Yeah, they're quite short. The next one, I can just the next one is a poem I wrote for my grandma, who isn't really my grandma, and is a woman that I chose as my grandma, who passed away a few years ago, so this is for her. The temporality of everywhere. For Subhashini Mumma and all those living in grief, may it never leave you. May it mold you and hold you in all its comforts. May it bring you closer to those still with you. May it let you believe death is not the end. I was walking. I was also sitting on a veranda elsewhere. It smelled the same intensity of the earth when water meets soil, soil heated by the sun. Sun, shy and often in hiding, but nourishing where I walk. Sun, strong, healthy, and obliterating where I sit. Sun, cracked soil meets a sudden shower of rain, turns to mulch, and I feel the temporality of being everywhere. Here, spring, perfectly lawned park, cherry blossoms perch to bloom. 9 months since you died. There, pre-monsoon, sandy front garden, pregnant jackfruit trees. 2 months until you die. I don't want to relegate you to the past, because you came to me, remember? You ushered me onto the bus as it arrived, refusing to be treated like you belonged in history. You came in a form I would most associate with you, solid, brown with a tinge of silver, an air of no nonsense, and sat only a few seats away from me. I remember being so affected by your presence that I forgot that you were meant to be gone. I had to go home and write to you. One more quick boy, just to leave it on a nice, hopeful note. Dig your heels in. This one goes out to the ones covered in mud, in the slums of Mumbai, the camps of Calais, and in pottery classes in cosmopolitan cities. Mud that holds you together, mud that affords you movement, or mud that traps you until you can't breathe. Dig your heels in, feel your power. This goes out to the ones who look at the sky as you set out into the world, looking out for drones, searching for a flight back home, or in hope for a sliver of moon. Dig your heels in, feel your power. This goes out for those who feel that heart race as they make the jump into an ice-cold sea, for that is safer than the land you're on. Raise a fist in protest, even if you're not with the millions, as you choose to fall, even if it might break you in pieces. Release your jaw, dig your heels in, feel your power.
And our final reading of the evening before the Q&A session, which there will be time for audience questions, so if you have any, have them in mind now. It is Suki Hollywood. Suki.
You can clap if you want. Thank you. Okay, so my piece is called Holier Than Thou. I'm just going to do a quick little sort of preface to it. The historical fact that Jesus and Judas were born in Palestine is necessary to assert, particularly as this work of fancy was written during Israel's ongoing genocide of Palestinians. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. The house party that Judas was hiding from was heaving with faces he knew from apps and illegal club nights and his hairdresser's Instagram. Still, his link to the crowd was tenuous. Maddie, the host, was the fag to his sister's hag. Maddie, with Gemma's help, had been trying to get with Judas all night, but Maddie worked for the Lib Dems, which was just too far even for Judas. Judas didn't know anyone else there or knew them too well, so he stood in his clothing like a silhouette in the clean carpeted living room, cigarette dangling from his lips. He was waiting for someone to drink enough to decide that one smoke wouldn't kill them and ask him for one. Finally, a blonde opened up the circle to absorb him. He looked like he'd change out of his mesh top on Monday to touch base and circle back. He looked like he'd been born in a hospital. "I like your hat," he said. English, of course. "Very Lavender Country. Have you heard of them? They're this amazing queer group from the 70s. Judas was not queer. Queer was too polite, educated, and querulous a word. Judas was gay. It was meatier and more universal, if a little uncomfortably curt from Glee. He was a homo. He was a fag. But yes, he told Peter, not Pete, he noted with heavy dread, but conclusively Peter. He had heard of Lavender Country. "Oh, sick," Peter said. The phrase was sudden in his mouth, as though he'd seen it written down, but he had never said it before. How about the Four Horsemen? They're from the 90s, super underrated. The lead singer died. Seeing where this was going, Judas excused himself to the bathroom before it became obvious that he didn't really like country music, he just liked the clothes. Judas flicked the brim of his cowboy hat with a roguish wink and looked at the strange angel in the mirror. Crisp black shirt held together at the collar with a silk scarf, cherry red and so fine it was virgin liquid. His mouth was soured with tobacco, but he'd sweetened his lips with Kool-Aid flavoured lip balm. Kool-Aid is like Iron Brew, but it's American and therefore Ethel Cain adjacent. His jeans scraped his skinny legs into weapons, something that could flex panther-like. Clip clop, his boots announced on his re-entry into the party which had not noticed his exit. "It is Britney, bitch." Triumphantly, he lit up his cigarette at last, but there was nothing to tap into except his own Budweiser bottle. He kept missing the mouth of it, and ash landed on the carpet like smudged eyeshadow. Gemma and Maddie were doing lines from the surface of a mirror in a bedroom, which felt too symbolically on the nose, even for Judas. The group Peter was sitting with seemed indignant about the latest situation. Judas could tell by their charity shop outfits, and the face masks of a couple of them wore as they turned to look at him. The masks made Judas think of the pest, which made him feel angry. He didn't want to think of the pest. And guilt. He hadn't done a test for the pest, even though Maddie had asked everyone to. "Anyone want a beer?" Judas asked, blowing smoke through his nose. "You'll have to take off your mask to drink it, though." "I'll take one of them said, removing his mask and letting his long hair loose. Like all of us, Judas had seen this person before. During the last lockdown, he'd gone to the public toilets of the park. He had no experience of cruising, so he followed urban legend instructions as if he'd read them in an ancient tome. Jesus had been waiting in the dark cubicle. His nose was freshly pierced, his pockets full of wild garlic. Judas didn't know at that point that he was going to kill him, but he knew he was going to kiss him. Jesus hissed when he did. His wound was tender. With his mouth, Judas had asked Jesus, "Can you tell me how to be good?" And Jesus had said, "You are." And then again, with a bite on his bottom lip that drew blood, "You are." Judas opened Jesus' beer with his teeth and passed it to him. It was as if the place where the two of them were standing had been touched by lightning once and had never forgotten what it felt like. The conversation was on daddies.